I'm Jeff Greenbaum. I'm an advertising lawyer based in the United States, and I'm the chairman of the Global Advertising Lawyers Alliance, which is an alliance of advertising lawyers around the world who focus their practices on advertising law. I mean, the amazing thing is our lawyers represent something like 100 countries around the world. Just gives you a sense of the depth of concern about advertising regulation around the world.
So, what are the hottest topics for the advertising industry at the moment?
Well, I would say without a doubt right now, the biggest issue that the advertising industry is concerned about is about sustainability. It's about how to talk about all of the incredible work that marketers are doing around the world to develop environmentally preferable products, but how to talk about them in a way without misleading consumers. You know, I think it's, we're in a very, very different place in the world right now. Marketers are doing great things. Brands are doing, making incredible improvements in their products to lessen their impact on the environment. But it's more difficult than ever to explain those benefits without, potentially misleading consumers. So I think what marketers are really struggling with right now is how do you explain extraordinarily complicated topics in very, very simple, easy to digest ways.
You're based in New York, but you have an overview of self-regulation around the world. So what can we learn from the two sides of the Atlantic?
Well, I think one of the things that we think about when we think about advertising regulation, we think about it as being so local. If you're in France, you think about the rules governing France, and if you're in the United States, you think about the specific rules in the U.S. But one of the things that is so interesting is that there's incredible thinking going on around the world. We have so much to learn from each other. Often, particularly in areas like environmental marketing or thinking about issues of representation in advertising, some jurisdictions are so far ahead of their thinking about these issues than others that sometimes what we need to do is we really need to look across borders and across oceans to sort of learn from the guidance that we're seeing in other parts of the world. So frequently in the United States, there isn't an answer to a question, and I go and I look at what's going on in France or in the UK or in other jurisdictions that have really active self-regulatory systems. So I think that that's one. I think the second is that there's great guidance out there. I mean, the ICC has issued new guidance and is continuing to do some really important thinking in this area, as are self-regulatory systems around the world. So I really encourage people to not look locally, but to really, engage in the thinking that's going on around the world. I think it's also really important to understand that these problems, don't stop at the border, right? These are issues that are global issues, and so the more we can understand the way each other is dealing with these issues, the better we're going to be at addressing them.
So, Jeffrey, in France, influence marketing is quite a hot topic. Is it the same? Do you see the same around the world?
Well, certainly in the United States, influencer marketing has been an issue of really serious concern for more than a decade, and I think that we've learned a lot. I think the first thing is that we've learned that consumers really do need to know when there is a relationship between an advertiser and an influencer that is not obvious to them. But I think what we're learning is that there are really good, the fact that there needs to be disclosure, the fact that we need to be more transparent about these issues is not necessarily a limit on creativity. And what we really encourage marketers to do is to think, hey, you're not constrained by this idea of disclosure or this idea of, making these connections clear, but instead there are so many ways and options available to marketers to get this kind of information across. I think the other thing that's really important to understand, though, is that the influencer ecosystem is getting more complex. Influencers are doing different things. We're now looking at consumer reviews and the importance of consumer reviews in the ecosystem. And so I think that these disclosure issues are not just limited to influencers anymore, but now we have to think about the ways in which we solicit and host and moderate consumer reviews as well.
So, Jeffrey, this is in fact, your first year in Cannes. So do you see new and emerging issues?
So I would say one of the things that is most interesting to me that has been a part of conversations that we've been having, over the last year and that you're seeing happening in Cannes right now is, the thinking that goes beyond what the law requires, right? The law is well established. Advertisers know that they need to tell the truth and they need to have proof for the claims that they make. But a lot of what we're talking about right now is, what is the industry's obligation to do more, and to go beyond what the law requires, and how can we actually encourage behavior that is, better for the earth? How can we, focus on issues of representation in a way that is going to move the needle forward, that is beyond what the law requires? And I think what is really exciting to see right now at Cannes, in a festival celebrating creativity, is the number of sessions, around the Palais and around the Croisette that are focused on issues of representation, that are focused on issues of climate change, and I think that it shows that marketers are going far beyond what the law requires and really want to be a part of positive change in the world.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
Thank you.